Hey guys, T-Bull here. Today I got to look at the Belfast. We're going to be talking about radars, radar cruisers, in particular when it comes to domination mode and ranked. We got ranked season 5 coming up. That's the first tier 6 ranked season we have, and this will be the first season where there's numerous radar cruisers in play. We have Atlanta, Indianapolis, Belfast, Shores, all equipped with radar. These, I believe, if used properly, are going to win games for this ranked season. If they're used improperly, they're going to be kind of irrelevant. So the first things first, we got to get into a position where we can cover the majority, if not all, of the cap with the radar and protect ourselves. So here on the map, Atlantic, we're on the eastern spawn, the sea spawn, and you can see kind of where we're going. There's this little island here to the southeast side of the cap. Now I don't know what this Farragut's doing. He's obviously a failed platooner, and he's not doing what I would like him to do. I want him to be on C, contesting the cap, and then when he gets into a situation where he's getting spotted, or at least the cap becomes contested, which means there's another enemy destroyer on the cap with him, then we can pop the radar, kill the destroyer in conjunction with each other, and hopefully along with the rest of our team, the support ships that are there to support the destroyer. Basically, in ranked, you got to realize that there's 2 points on the map. There's 2 caps that are going to be kind of contested by both teams, and everyone's attention is very heavily concentrated on these 2 areas. So if you can get 2 radars, one covering each side, then the rest of the ships need to be able to capitalize. They need to recognize, number 1, when the radar is going off. Number 2, they need to capitalize on the short window of opportunity that presents itself. Now this game, I'll point out, isn't like a barn burner or anything, but it's kind of a good example of how you need to position and think about your role as a radar cruiser in these domination mode and in ranked battles. Radars and randoms, they can be useful. They're harder to set up, but in domination mode, you got your 2 major contested points. You should be able to position yourself to use these radars and then use them effectively. So we tried to radar the Belfast. We had an AP loaded. I wanted to catch him the Belfast broadside, but of course the Akatsuki pops up here. The destroyers are what we're using the radar on, so as soon as we recognize the Akatsuki was there, switch back to HE and then start putting shots into him. Now here's something that is instructive. We only had 1 shot from our team come in at that Akatsuki while the radar was up. And if you have radar cruisers on your team during ranked, you need to recognize when the radar is going off. A ship pops up that shouldn't be spotted. Why is that? Oh, it must be the radar. You have to capitalize on the radar when it's up. If that destroyer gets away like he did there, that's a bit of a problem. Now, the Belfast and the other team also in a good position, protected from incoming fire, and in a position where he can cover the cap. Now he's radaring the Farragut. You can see they're bombing on that Farragut, and he's taking a fair amount of damage there. So we have 2 effectively positioned Belfast using their radar and putting a lot of pressure on the cap. I'm also getting radared here, and I'm a little aggressive pushing forward here. I was trying to support that Farragut as much as possible, and you can see the damage that we take for being overextended there. And all of these radar cruisers, tier 6, they're all squishy ships, and they're all susceptible to being wrecked pretty readily. So you got to protect yourself, but you also got to be in a position to effectively cover those caps with your radar, duration and length, or coverage, I guess. Another reason I picked this clip is exactly what this Maz is doing right here. The Maz, I don't know if he's smoking me up or not. Maybe he's just trying to get on the cap and put some pressure on it. That would be what I assume is going on. But you'll see he did put a radar or a smoke coverage in front of us here, and that gives us additional, hidden time. As the Belfast, we're kind of relying on being undetected due to smoke. We have our own smokes, but cruisers, and particularly radar cruisers, paired up with destroyers, either random teammates or if you're in a division with, let's say, a Benson with very effective smokes, and a radar cruiser where the destroyer puts down the smoke screen for the radar so the cruiser can be in position to cover that cap and remain undetected. That's a very effective combo. So if you're looking to division in this season, I would look for a destroyer cruiser combination. That's going to be extremely powerful if done correctly. Again, in this instance, I don't think the Maz even knew that I existed, but regardless, this is a fairly decent example of what you want to see with these synergistic combos on your team. Now, in previous ranked seasons, destroyers were king. In fact, those of you that followed my coverage from last season saw I was running T61 at like a 74% win rate or something, and a good destroyer player could basically carry every game if they played it carefully and played it effectively. But now we're always going to have radars in pretty much every match. You should just count on it. So the destroyers have to be very, very careful. When you get on the cap, I would basically get on it, turn around immediately, and then just be sitting on the very, very edge of the cap and be ready to go. You got to recognize, number one, radar cruisers. They're incoming, okay. And you need to know the radar range of every single cruiser in the game. I guess I can give them to you right now. Atlanta, 8.4 with a 25-second duration. Indianapolis, 9.9 kilometers, 26-second duration. That's probably 25 altered with Einstein. Belfast, 8.4, 25 seconds. Shores, 9 with a 15-second duration. So, as a destroyer player, you gotta pretty much commit those numbers to memory. You gotta know who's coming at you, what their capabilities are, and be able to respond accordingly. So get on the cap, be prepared to get out of there. If the radar goes off, hit it into full gear as fast as possible and get out of there. You cannot die with that all the incoming fire that's going to be coming your way. Hopefully, if the enemy team's capitalizing on their radar, which, not hopefully from your standpoint, but hopefully from the people on the enemy's team standpoint, they're going to be recognizing the radar go off and then capitalize on that. Capitalizing on that means shooting at you as the destroyer who's being radared and getting rid of you. So get on the cap, turn around, and then be ready to go. If you can, bait the radar off, as we just listed off the durations, they're all very short. They're all under 30 seconds. So if you can survive that and then recognize that they're going to have a 2-3 minute reload kind of window where they don't have radar coverage available, then you can kind of try and get back to business, capitalizing on that knowledge and then contesting that cap. But you cannot be dying by these radars. So recognize the radar cruiser coming in, recognize its capabilities, respond accordingly. Conversely, battleships, you see a radar cruiser, that needs to be your number one priority. Probably even over destroyers. I mean, if you have a shot at the destroyer, that's a reliable enough shot, go ahead and take that. The whole point of the radar cruisers is to get rid of the destroyers. So getting rid of the destroyers, if you have an option to do that, go ahead and do it. Number two, though, radar cruisers have to die. Because as we can see, as we're talking about, these ships will turn the tide of the battle in these ranked matches. Effective radars can win and lose games. So you have to be shooting these. If you're going to be sitting there, like we talked about yesterday's video with the battleships, if all you're going to be doing is shooting battleship, don't play ranked. You're not doing it right. So you're just going to be pissing everyone off. You got to kill the radar cruisers. I'm going to drive this point forward as much as I possibly can. It's extremely important for what's coming up. As for the radar cruisers themselves, your main job, get into position where the radar is going to be effective. If you're a Belfast sitting backline in your own little smoke cloud, your radar's not in the game, don't play the Belfast, play the Fiji or play something else. But the whole point of the radar cruisers is their main strength is the radar, or at least one of their main strengths. And if you're not going to be in a position to use that, and that position again is being close enough to the cap where you can cover most if not all of it with your radar, just don't play the ship because you're not doing it correctly. Again, these pieces are more complicated. This is going to be a more complicated rank season than we've seen before, but if used properly, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So I would recommend, if you're planning on getting into radar cruisers, practice with them now. See when you get in on these domination mode games, if you can just identify little islands, little positions where you can protect yourself, cover those caps, I believe each map on ranked is kind of designed to have at least one radar cruiser position available per side. So just kind of work on identifying those ahead of time, and that'll give you a head start on that. And an effective position for radar cruisers may be one where you're not even really in position to deal much, if any, damage at all. Like, if you can get behind an island, but that'll give you coverage of the cap, but you're not necessarily going to have the shots, that's not a bad position. You're relying on your teammates to recognize the radar is active and capitalize on it. Risky proposition, I understand that. We all know about the teammates out there. Again, if you can get into a division with teammates in this ranked season, it's going to be, that much more fruitful, the radar play, because you're going to be able to call out on the comms, check this out, I'm about to radar, and then your teammates will be ready to capitalize on it. So there's a lot to think about. There's some things I would practice ahead of time if you're planning on utilizing the radars, but now is the time to do it. So hopefully that gave you some things to think about, guys. If you did like it, please hit the thumbs up. New to the channel, consider subscribing. Lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave them below. I do love to hear from you. And we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.